Hey YouTube! For today's Monday movement, I'm going to be demonstrating how to properly and safely perform barbell back squats, as well as addressing a lot of common mistakes and how to correct them. To set up for the barbell back squat, you will want to set your pins so they are at about your shoulder height. You don't want the bar to be up too high so that you're having to come up onto your tiptoes to get it off the rack, but you also don't want to have to hunker down and start in a squat just to get it off the rack either. I also highly recommend using the safety bars. This way, when you start to push a lot of weight and you hit that point of coming near failure, you don't end up at the bottom of your squat, not able to get up and having to throw the weight down on the ground. This way you can just squat all the way down, lower the bar back off behind you, and you're able to exit the rack safely. You want to grab onto the bar with your hands a little bit wider than your shoulder distance. You're going to lower down to bring the bar to your upper traps. You want to make sure that the bar is not sitting directly on your neck, and you also don't want it too far down. You want it to go across your shoulders on that upper trap. To unrack the bar, I'm going to grab on with my hands outside of my shoulders. I'm going to think about kind of rolling my shoulder blades back, getting my chest up, and engaging my core. From here, I'm just going to stand up straight, and I'm going to step back away from the rack. You want to set your feet about shoulder distance apart. Your toes are going to point out just ever so slightly. You don't want them straight forward, but you also don't want them out at like a 45-degree angle. It's just a very slight outward turn, and your knees are going to follow over in line with your toes. To begin the movement, I'm going to keep my shoulder blades back, my chest up, core engaged. I'm going to keep my weight in my heels, and I'm going to inhale as I lower down as if I'm sitting in a really tiny chair. From here, I'm going to drive up through my heels as I exhale and push the weight back up. Now, your specific form as far as where your knees are going to be in relation to your toes, as well as how upright your torso is going to be, is actually going to vary a lot person to person depending on your specific anatomy. Now, I like to think about the squat as if your body is an accordion and your feet and the bar are the ends of the accordion, and it's just going to be compressed and collapsed in a different way given your personal anatomy. But you always want to make sure that the bar is straight above your feet throughout the movement. That being said, if you are somebody that struggles getting low enough in your squat, it could be due to certain anatomical limitations, such as limited hip or ankle mobility, and these are actually issues that can be addressed and corrected over time. For instance, if you're doing a squat and your knees are caving in, the first thing I want you to do is lower the weight. Then what I want you to do is to think about not only keeping the weight in your heels, but I want you to think about your feet are glued to the ground and you're trying to spread the floor apart and driving your knees out. This can also be due to weak abductors, which are the outer muscles of your hips and glutes. So once you get a better idea of what the squat should really feel like, I would recommend implementing a lot more hip abduction exercises, such as machine hip abduction, lateral band walks, fire hydrants, clamshells, etc. Now, somebody that has limited ankle mobility may have a hard time keeping the weight in their heels. They may actually lift their heels up and come onto their toes like so. And if that is the case, again, I recommend lowering the weight first. I would also suggest that you try making sure that your shoulders are back and your chest is up to see if that helps you stay more upright, keeping the weight in your heels. And after that, I would recommend also implementing some ankle mobility stretches and exercises into your routine as well. The last mistake I want to address is not letting your back round. So a lot of times people try to push and go down lower than their body wants to, and what ends up happening is They go down, and once they push past what their body wants to do, they lose that natural lumbar curve. Their shoulders go forward, their core disengages, they come up onto their toes, and then they're standing up like this with all the weight on their back. This is why it's so important to keep your shoulders back, your chest up, the weight in your heels, keep that core engaged, and only go down to a depth that works for your body.